Hello, it's Wednesday. It's time for another installment of Massage Reunion. We were just here yesterday, and we're back, which is great. It's nice to see you 2 days in a row, though I can't see you. Um, Today I thought we would work on our arms and our hands. Um, and because I don't want it to be a super long video, because you have things to do, um, I thought I would just do one arm, this arm and hand, and then same like that, but on your other side, and I'll just leave it up to you um, to figure out when you want to do that. Um, okay, so arms and hands, they're important, obviously, for all the very obvious reasons. We um, you know, pick things up with them. Like they're how we take action in the world for the most part. It's how we bring stuff into our view, into our line of sight. It's how we make contact with other people. And even now, when we're not making physical contact with other people, it's still how we make contact with other people by typing, and typing. Um, our hands are for the most part our primary way of interfacing with everything. Um, our hands and our eyes, and our hands and our eyes work in concert, and so and it's harder to massage your eyes. So let's massage our hands. And they're so complex. Hands and wrists, arms aren't. They're very simple. Forearms are just two bones, one big bone and one small bone that sort of rotate around each other to create movement in your elbow. And your elbow is a pretty standard, pretty simple joint. Your shoulder is a really complicated, really flexible joint. Your elbow's got, it's just sort of a basic hinge joint. But your wrist can do all sorts of things. And your hands are made up of like this whole constellation of tiny bones, and then your long bones of your finger. One time I was in France. My cousins brought me to France, and we went to this natural history museum, and it was so beautiful. It was like this beautiful glass and stone structure. Have you? I don't know. Have you been there? And it was just full of skeletons, just like full of skeletons. It was like birds and lizards and dinosaurs and just like very mundane things and super exotic things, and somehow incredibly beautifully presented. It really simple. It was just but beautifully presented. And what was so remarkable was how every single skeleton was the same. Like a fish arm and a bird arm and a mammal's arm, they all look the same. It's like two bones, many bones, long bones, and it ends. It's like there's a sort of basic shape. Like this is the same shape as a wing, fundamentally. Um, and I also think it's interesting how the shape evolved, right? Like it was, sort of fins, which are kind of wing-like, to legs, to reptiles, legs that are more hand-like, to wings that are more fin-like, to hands that are more hand-like. So I like thinking about, I think our hands and our arms are, to me, our hands and our arms feel like the most magical, sort of anthropological, or like archaeological, or wait, I don't know, like in terms of like how we have made ourselves and remade ourselves for different mediums. Like now I'll be in the water, now I'll be in the air, now I'll be on the land. I think our hands and our arms are just like a beautiful demonstration of that. Like crazy how nature's. Look, I've been talking about this for 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Hands and arms. That's what we're going to work on. Okay, so for this you will need some kind of medium, some kind of slippery medium. I've chosen coconut oil. You can choose anything you want. We're going to start at our elbows. Thumb on the top, fingers on the bottom. Just long sort of stripping. I don't like calling it stripping. That's like a massage thing. Some people say stripping, but like long cleansing strokes. Like if you had like a rag and it was wet and you were like, squeezing water out of it. Long cleansing strokes. And for me, it feels useful to let my arm go with my hand. So I'm not holding my arm still. I'm kind of like, I'm just sort of letting it like, I know maybe you don't want to do this, but for me, it just feels useful to like let the whole thing move. It's like I'm grabbing it and then I'm just letting the like weight of it kind of slide it through. So you're gonna do that a bunch of times, way more times than I'm doing it, and all the way down till your thumb kind of meets your wrist, right? All the way down to your thumb meets your wrist. Okay. And then once you've gotten that side, now we're gonna flip to the back side. So for this one, you can do some long strips, and in my opinion, like the Swedish people care a lot about always moving toward your heart. I don't care that much about that. So you decide. For me on this side of my arm, I find less benefit. This sort of long strokes are useful, but I find more benefit in being more detailed and kind of finding the spot between my the two bones of my radius and my ulna, and kind of pushing my thumb into that spot in between my radius and my ulna, and kind of, especially maybe extra focus toward the like lateral edge of, or like the medial edge of my ulna, like as if I were trying to separate these two bones. And you can think of a chicken wing. You know how the chicken wings have those two bones, and like when you eat them, you like put your finger between and rip the bones apart, like that. Think about it like you're ripping apart a chicken's arm. That's soothing, comforting during this time of heightened anxiety. And then once you get up to to your elbow, spend a couple seconds right in this sort of meaty spot where the two bones find each other. And now for this, I would use your fingers, press, and then rotate. And even like, watch, press, rotate, and like that. I would be the worst teacher in a massage school because I would just basically groan, like, and be like this. It's not useful. But I'm not in a massage school. This is just bonus material. 7 minutes. Oh, it's so good up there. And then with your thumb is more powerful. What? And when you get like right there, I'm like, I can almost move my. Oh yeah, I can. I can't. I can almost move my finger. I can feel it all the way down into my fingers, the back of my hand. So that's just like, oh, that's a good spot. And try to not let your neck and your head get tense when you're doing this. Okay. So spend plenty of time on that. And then next we're going to come down to our wrists. So our wrists are so complicated. And there's all of this like, all of these tendons that run through. There's not muscles in your wrist, but all of these tendons are run through this tiny space and then attach into your hand. And I think that it can be really useful to sort of free up the little bits of scarry binding that that accumulate when you're doing a lot of, often when you're typing, your hands are in this kind of strange posture and then frozen in that posture, or driving like tense and stressed and frozen in this posture. So I like to take my two fingers, grab hold of my wrist, and then kind of wiggle it. Like, partly you're just sort of feeling like, how does this articulate? And so much of this is about intention. So much of it is about your sort of offering your wrist whatever it needs. So like when you're working, when I work, I very often like actively say this in my head to your body. Like, I'll give you whatever you want. Like, you can have whatever you want. You just need to tell me what it is. So try saying that. See what happens. I mean, just see what happens. Like, it's not like anybody's going to judge you if you're doing it in your head. No one will even know. So just see what happens if you say that to your wrist in your head. Like, okay, whatever you want, you can have. You just have to tell me what it is. And see if it tells you. My watch wants me to do this. Do you wish I was more anatomy focused? Or is this working for you? See, I like doing this, sort of pushing. So now I'm like, this way, this way, this way, this way. So I'm doing this. All right, so wrist, and now into your hand. Oh, our hands. Oh, your hands do have muscles, and like the oh. So let's work on our thenar muscles. This sort of thenar pad here. You can get knots. Like I feel like I have knots in this thick muscle here. I mean, and this is a muscle that you can see. Like that's right. Like it's like I can contract it, and it's bulky and like ripped. um, ripped thumbs, you guys. I don't know if your thumbs are ripped like mine. Don't feel bad if they're not. Everyone's different. Oh, 11 minutes. Anyway, okay, so let's spend a bunch of time on our thenar pad. So just pinching and then sliding. Pinching and sliding. Pinching and sliding. Ooh, move your thumb. Pinching and sliding. Ah, pinching and sliding. Whew, and then some time just in the palm of your hand. Just there's less going on in here, at least for me, but I think it's good to just with the flat of my palm, just kind of like it was dough or something, and I was just working out air bubbles. And then catch underneath each of your, like right here, the socket of your knuckle. I like to catch it with my finger, and then this is just like I did with my wrist, where I'm just like manipulating the joint, sort of gently manipulating the joint, and letting it do what it wants. And I do that for each of my fingers, gently manipulate the joint. So you can spend, it goes slower, but you know, and then down each of your fingers, oh, down each of your fingers, and your thumb. Just like that. I feel like this video was a lot of time where I was talking about dinosaurs, and maybe less time where I was talking about, or not dinosaurs, but like museums in France, and less time when I was talking about massage. Maybe I won't use it, but probably I will. How are you guys doing? Today I took a walk in Forest Park. It was delightful. I miss you. I really like it when you email me. Do that. Okay. Let's talk soon.